Our next speaker is going to be Dr. Wei Liao with Michigan State University. He's a professional engineer and professor who serves as the director for the Anaerobic Digestion Research and Education Center with the Department of Biosystems and Agricultural Engineering. He's going to help us this morning by kind of walking us through some of the anaerobic digestion systems for small and medium sized farms. So with that, Dr. Liao, we'll turn over to you.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you very much. And Juliana, great talk about economics of anaerobic digestion. I just catch the last part of your talk. Let me share the screen. What I mean, screen 3. Can you see my full screen? Full screen, right? Yes. Okay, what I'm in talk, like last workshop, I talked a little bit about, similar with what Juliana discussed, the earlier, like the economics and the life cycle. Those things are very important for the farm, waste management, the particular for anaerobic digestion the system, because anaerobic digestion system is a technology actually concentrate those carbon and into the methane. If you don't manage those methane well, and actually causing actually greenhouse, the emission issue. So what I'm going to talk today is very much in the focus on small, medium-sized farms, and very much is animal agriculture and a little bit of the other, the agriculture farms. And very much this presentation is going to, I'm going to focus on technology. And from standpoint of the economics and the farm operation, the view. And I think John next to me, and he's expert, and we work together on some proposal development. He's expert on the credit, those kind of things. I think there's some linkage between my talk and John's talk next to me. So I'm just going to focus on the small, medium farm, give the few examples. How could we develop technology, satisfy the demands of small, medium farms? So, and the old outlines give you a little bit of facts. I think most of us know the agriculture industry, and then the waste handling issue, and then give you a probably current practice because of focus on anaerobic digestion. There are multiple practices for the agricultural waste management, and we're focusing on agricultural waste utilization. So we're going to talk a little bit about basics, the anaerobic digestion, the pathway. To utilize agricultural waste, very much is on animal side, manure, and a little bit, the food processing side. And then our strategy, how can we make those small, medium, the operation size operation work for that case compared to the large, agriculture operations. And some of, specific technologies we are developing once, the anaerobic digestion, high efficiency, anaerobic digestion technology, how could enhance anaerobic digestion. And then right now, everybody knows solar. How could they incorporate the solar and the digestion? Actually, we turn those the digester into the storage, solar storage, turn those solar power into the chemicals and store longer time, and do the kind of get this integration together and benefit for small farm operation, because many of you know, for the small farms, we wanted them to do the renewable natural gas production. Probably there's some of difficulties in terms of scale, in terms of the technology advancement and other interconnection. I think John will talk a bit more on that part. So then, and of course, for small medium farms, water recycle and nutrients recovery, particularly at this moment, everybody talk about anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion is a good process for carbon capturing or carbon sequestration. However, all other nutrient stuff, nitrogen, phosphorus, the literally carries through. So they just do a little form change. They actually, the amount, roughly, the amount you put in the digester, pretty much, the same concentration, nitrogen, phosphorus are getting at the end of, the digestion process. We do need to consider that water recirculation, and nutrient recovery, particularly for small, medium farms. We don't have large farms, and they don't have all those kind of irrigation systems pumping those liquid digestate on the field, and the very, very costly and the labor intensive operation. How could we, do those things to concentrate phosphorus nitrogen in semi-solid, solid forms, and recover water, directly discharge the clean water, and on site. That's a critical and for the small medium operation, combining with all those carbon and other value added products production. So, and then kind of some case studies around the world we have in Central America and in the United States, and then kind of get a conclusion. So, and quickly go through those facts. Let's just give you some numbers: 4.5 billion dry tons of agricultural residues, and including both crop residues, animal residue. Of course, crop residues had a lot of contributions. If you look at United States side, we have a 1 billion ton study, so there's a 1 billion ton potential feedstocks can be used for, of course, 1 billion ton study for energy research, but of course, also, carbon and other things in that biomass could be revenue streams for farms. And then, of course, food waste. And again, 1/3 of our, the food we take actually ends up in the trash. So no matter from the pre-consumable or post-consumable, consider both of them. And then the wastewater, and 2,020 cubic kilometers of wastewater globally produced every year. Large pieces from agricultural operation, the wastewater from animal industry, and in the United States, particularly our tile drainage systems, right? One-time use water, and those water ends up in the river and those places. So that's kind of another source effects. And then just to give you an example, why actually these two workshops, and the previous one and this one, we focus on the waste streams. Just give you an example of the animal waste. If you look at all the feed that we feed the animals, actually just take a dairy cow as as an example. Only 35% of carbon in the feed ends up in the milk, and other portion, 45%, that bigger than the the milk, the percentage, the carbon percentage ends up in the manure. Similar thing with the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and from that perspective, literally the manure actually has a value if you just consider the elements, right? Probably has a bigger value than the milk, particularly for cow industry. This is why kind of all of ours in this area, research area, we really need to focus on this entire production chains from the food production along the lines of particular animal industry. Right? You really need to focus on those waste, manure, residues, those things. And then another aspect, just to give you again the dairy industry as an example. If you look at average dairy farm size is a little bit less than 200 dairy cows, and even though like 50% of the milk produced from the 10% of dairy farms in the United States, those consolidations happening right in past 20, 30 years. And still, there's still 90% of their farms. If you look at 63, 65 in the southern dairy farm just an example on dairy industry in the United States, it's 85, 90% of them are still small dairy farm. They are cornerstones of our rural communities. And similar with other, small, medium dairy farms, most of them are family-owned farms. We really need to do something to help them to kind of make those operations sustainable from both aspects, technical aspects and economic aspects as well. So, and just one kind of facts, and then kind of look at a little bit bigger pictures, like global pictures. If you're considering all those agriculture residues, wastes from the crop industry, from animal industry, this is what we can get. We can get if you just focus on your easy calculation, and we can just use heating value, energy value of those wastes. We can do a simple calculation. Actually, this is 30. If you're considering the all agricultural waste as a whole, 20% of water energy consumption can be produced from biomass. 34% of water fossil fuel consumption can be replaced by this waste. And we are just talking about the carbon in the waste streams. I'm not talking about the phosphorus nitrogen. There's another big the pots we can dig in. So then kind of a current practice for the agriculture waste, most practical practice around the world, people are using the anaerobic digestion. So this is kind of a little bit the complicated chart. I just want to show you this is a digestion process of 4 steps: microbial, the process, hydrolysis, acidogenesis, acetogenesis, and then methanogenesis. Actually turn all those carbon in the organic matter, in the manure or in other residues into the methane gas and something else, ammonia, phosphorus, and ammonia, phosphorus pretty much carries through as mentioned earlier. And this is a process. Feedstock could be, the agricultural residue, food waste, and some other, organic, the residue waste. Current process very much is focused on the biogas and methane, carbon dioxide, and solid parts. Because okay, they use that as fertilizer, or just dumping the crop field and just let them go. And actually, other two pieces, particularly for small, medium farm operation, we need to take all of them into the consideration to turn them into some value-added products to contribute to the farm operation. And currently, and methane, carbon dioxide, sure, there's a lot of some median coverage on the renewable natural gas, biogas. We do the cleaning first and doing biogas upgrading and get a renewable and natural gas, particularly on the West Coast, the California, Oregon, and Washington. They have some sort of a similar the regulations like California low carbon fuel credit standard and those things. So that's kind of is a current process. But this the route from biogas to renewable natural gas, even for the electricity heat, right, and very much for large farm operations. And particularly for renewable natural gas, you have interconnection, all those, it's a very tedious the process, communicate with the utility company, and even some of it depends on what kind of fuel you're talking on, D3, D4. You may need to talk to the fossil, those petroleum company. This is farms literally cannot do that. And a small, medium farm, especially, they cannot take care of this. They're already busy enough, take care of their, the own operations. Add this kind of layer of, bureaucracy things on the top of that. No way for that. They can handle that. So we need a solution for small, medium farms. And then again, this is kind of the maps, EPA, XStar has this, the digestion maps. If you look at the dairy industry, cattle, swine, poultry, and the mixed and co-digestion systems around the country, a lot of them over California and the Washington, Oregon, and of course in the northeast region, the Michigan, New York, the Pennsylvania quite a bit, and Wisconsin too. So, but if you look at the size, there's the size of the circle means the size of the feeding operations, and all of them are pretty big. Like our digesters, smaller ones, we do digestion for the 200 dairy cost system, but we do mix with other feedstock. Our operations more or less like it's a 700,000 dairy cost because they mix with quite a bit of food waste in that. So this is current practice, and then this is some numbers again from the XStar, and currently, and I think this is just last month's numbers, 331 agriculture digester, in the United States, very much is on livestock, the operations, and intentionally, if you think about it, some of our European the countries, peers, Germany, Italy, and those countries, and our numbers supposed to be bigger than 60,000 if get everything right, and supposed to be those operations supposed to cover and a lot of medium small operations if the economics work out for those for the farms. And then this is just kind of some energy numbers. So we if we get increase to that numbers, so really we can replace later. I will talk about some of the for carbon standpoint view, the energy numbers, renewable energy, what amount we can replace current fossil fuel use. So this is just anaerobic digestion, the practice right now, and very much is focused on biogas. It's very much is carbon based on the process. So this kind of a lot of people around the world in the United States, working on the anaerobic digestion technology, and also working on waste management practice and with utilization practice. So this is one of the approaches we're taking at MSU, for particularly for small medium operation, because the feedstock amount is small for small medium operation, and the biogas correspondingly biogas production is small. If you rely on biogas to generate revenues, and some of them just economics just doesn't work out, and you do need to focus on a systems integration standpoint of view. Considering biogas carbon is one source, you do need to consider others, nitrogen, phosphorus, including waters. You need to clean up the water, particularly in Michigan and Wisconsin, I think Pennsylvania too, because we are around the 5 lakes. And in Michigan, actually, our the Department of Environmental Quality and EGLE, those the local government is trying to reinforce some of regulation on the agriculture operation, particularly discharging and water discharging, water discharging. And it's clearly the trend is those the rules and regulation will get tougher and tougher. So we do need to prepare our small medium farms to be ready for those things coming. And then the one thing is address those environmental regulation. If at the same time we can develop process to generate revenue from those the originally we call the environmental liability, but turn them into the public assets. That's something we're doing, and this is a focus of this strategy. One of those strategies we're developing. We're combining solar technology, simple and the effective solar technology with some sort of water use, reuse, and nutrient recovery. And again, tailor those technology to the small medium operation. So then we target on all the organic waste and some optimal wastewater on farm and generate the clean water. It's not drinking water. We do run some projects, turn those things into the potable water. But for this clean water, the clean water means the discharge satisfy EPA's discharge standards. We can discharge into the field, and then the renewable energy for sure. Natural gas. We're talking about both electricity and very much for small medium farms electricity. However, we want to put a high value on that part of the renewable electricity. It's not just put on the grid. Like right now, our facility at MSU only sell like 8 cents per kilowatt hour electricity to the grid. It really doesn't make a lot of money, actually losing money to be frankly with that amount. So we really need to find other sources. So this way towards the end, we talk a little bit about electric vehicle stuff, hopefully combining those small medium farms with electric vehicle charging stations or rural charging network, those things. We can bring the value up. And of course, another thing is fertilizer and other value-added products. Fertilizer very much are not talking about the liquid digestate. Those things are difficult to handle. Now we'll talk about extract those phosphorus, nitrogen, and combining with some of the solid digestate, make them solid or semi-solid fertilizer, and clean up the water at the same time. So we wrap up the entire, the systems. Not only just focus on the life cycle analysis, we not only just focus on the global warming potential and other water eutrophication and ecotoxicity and those kind of the parameters. So that's kind of just getting into a little bit details on what we're doing at MSU. And this flow chart, they integrate organic waste utilization, and we take the anaerobic digestion, solar energy, and water reuse and nutrient recovery together as a package. So I'm going to go. We first jump into each individual of them and talk a bit about our research and our some sort of pilot operation that level. Then kind of jump into case studies. How could it link them together to develop? Because again, small medium farm operation, each of them has their own operational and the other the characteristics. So we really need to tailor our combination of our technology to satisfy their the demand or their operational traits. So let's kind of start from anaerobic digestion. We do a lot of microbiology, fundamental research side, and we're trying to link those things to the applied thing. We run the 16R, the DNA analysis, and then we right now are doing the shotgun for the functional genomics, those kind of things. Intention is not for the fundamental research. Intention is like really find out the communities, microbes, their interaction, and with all those kind of operational the parameters to enhance the digestion performance, which means our target right now is, and everybody knows that biogas composition, 60-70% of the methane, 30-40% of carbon dioxide based on volume. But if you're based on weight, carbon dioxide is heavy, methane is light. Actually, literally in that biogas, you generate more carbon dioxide than the methane, and in terms of weight. So this is all, this type of fundamental research part. We do the interspecies electron transfer study and use the conductor particles, nanoparticle, all those kind of stuff. And the target is we want to change that ratio based on the weight to another way around. We want to kind of get more methane in the biogas and get a carbon dioxide as small as possible in the methane gas. So this is kind of we use, the different statistics to including some of, the data, the same thing, the machine learning data, deep learning things. We optimize systems. We put, microbiology and the performance together, and then we twist the digestion performance. We're trying to develop the next generation digestion technology without change the configuration. We still use a CSTR. If you use a plug flow, just plug flow. With some sort of additives or some of the operation condition change, you can simply improve the messing production. And very important for small medium farm, because your feedstocks are limited. You want to use those carbon more efficiently than the large operation. So then this is some of the data that you see the kind of messing yield, and this is our operation. And we mix with a little bit, the manure, and with a little bit, crop residues and energy crops, switch wires, corn stover. Again, trying to balance the carbon nitrogen ratio, and then also we utilize some of the particle matters, their properties, to enhance microbial community, enhance the microbial activities. Then kind of towards the end, generate more gas and produce, solid digestate, high quality solid digestate as a medium. And the solid digest could be directly used as soil management, and also could be as a medium to absorb more phosphorus, nitrogen, and another high quantity soil management is some kind of our research doing. And then, of course, the liquid digestate. We want to get a total solid in liquid digestate lower, COD level in the liquid digestate lower. Then we can apply some of the water reclamation technology and the nutrient removal technology next steps. That's solar. That's the digestion part. On the solar research, we're doing a little bit different, the solar research. It's not only just the PVs and solar thermal, put them on, just provide energy. No. What we're trying to do is actually, we want to integrate solar and the messing reactors. Actually, solar energy, everybody knows, actually put some of, the characteristics is here. So like today, we're snowing Michigan, no solar energy, right? Then solar energy is coming and go. It's not a continuous energy source. They are intermittent. So how could it turn solar energy into a continuous renewable energy source? There's a lot of battery starting. Say, okay, put in the battery. I don't have battery. I have a couple battery in my power operations. 18 battery, 50 kilowatt hours battery here. But battery is expensive, and also, to be frank, there's different opinions on the environmental aspects. You use a lot of rare earths, all those things. We want to use a battery for the EV cars, right? We don't want a battery everywhere. And you need to find different ways to store those solar energy. Actually, it's our concept. We use the solar energy, solar heat, to maintain the temperature of digester, higher temperature. Actually, getting the thermophilic, most of the digestion getting better messing production. So we maintain high temperature. We through the heat exchange. We then turn those photon or solar energy into chemical energy, messing. We store those solar energy, the messing energy, and then messing can put in the bag, or even down the road, if you can do the compression, you can store those easily and transport them easily. So that's the whole concept behind the solar biogeneration research. And this is good for the small operation, because we're not talking about transport them through the pipeline. We just say you can store them locally and just use for later I'll talk about EV charging, those kind of things. And actually, from these ways, actually you increase your energy production for small medium farms, and you don't need to spend certain amount of the gas for the heating, and because most of the heating from the solar energy, you store the heat in the methane gas, you actually increase the net energy output for systems. So this kind of we do. Running those pilot scale systems at MSU, we get a solar collection this year round. That's typical, trend, particularly in the northern part of the country. And then, of course, we started focusing on small digester from 10 cubic meters all the way to 1,000 cubic meters. The 1,000 cubic meters like half size for our operation. We have 200 direct call systems. We have a 2,500 cubic meters reactor. So very much we focus on small. If you look at this thermal reactor, their heat energy demand, of course, summer times a little bit low, winter times the high. So then we use a multi-objectives optimization. We put these two things together, trying to find out best combination between solar and biogas production, then can enhance the methane production and actually store solar energy into the methane gas, actually convert them into the chemical storage. So this basic slides, I just kind of show you the numbers, and very much we have a parameter solar collector area and all the way to the net energy output. We do the comparison and about bioreactor with solar, without solar, and with mixed feed, without mixed feed. Then you can see that kind of combining on the solar and bioenergy and with the coal feedings, manure, and some food waste, and we can simply enhance the system efficiency. And this one's very much from the energy production standpoint of view, from something lower as 42 all the way up to close to 80, and from the little bit large tanks efficiency a bit high 64 up to 80, 86, at least 20 to 30% increase on efficiency. That 20-30% increase is critical for small medium operation in terms of their gas, in terms of their energy output. So the next part, the last case, individual research is about water reclamation and nutrient recovery. So what we use is a small scale, and we trying to use it because we do have solar energy available, those the renewable electricity available. We're trying to use electrocoagulation and a membrane. The purpose using electrocoagulations, we want to reduce pressures on the membrane, ultrafiltration or nanofiltration. And then this is another new process we developed. We want to combining the electrocoagulation with the anaerobic digestion, because the farm digesters generate particular manure digestion. We do have a pretty high hydrogen sulfate production, the swine manure type of things. So we want to use the electrocoagulation, the pH swing, and take those actually clean up the biogas, and also enhance electrocoagulation. We reduce the power demand, because we get suffer into that, and those ions enhances conductivity and reduce energy consumption of the electrocoagulation, and accumulate particularly phosphorus. Electrocoagulation can remove 99.9% of phosphorus in the systems. So remove the phosphorus and clean up the water. And then of course this is after that water is clean enough, we can run regular filtration process. So we did some of membrane research with nanofilter and the reverse osmosis with different coating systems at MSU. We run different tests here. Then you can see the water. Just want to show you this picture. This is the parameters or COD removal from EC. You can see from 3,000 milligrams per liter, a little bit dilute. The digester, solid digester is 10 times higher. We have the recirculating systems a little bit lower than that. We can remove the 90% of the COD, and a combination of nanofiltration and on the reverse osmosis system, we can really get a clean water. This one satisfies discharging standard. So you can see the dark black digestate and very simple 2 steps. And again, this technology designed for small, medium operation. We don't need those very complicated membrane, big pumps, those kind of stuff. Actually, just 2 membrane. One, the columns, the ultrafiltration, another 2 or 3, the bundled, the reverse osmosis. And actually, we can get rid of the reverse osmosis if you just have a little bit, if you don't have that strict, because based on the EPA, the discharging standard, both the quantity and quantity is important. But a small the scale operation, you only have a few hundred, the gallons, a few thousand gallons of water feeding to different category, different state, and different regulation. So actually, we can reduce a little bit of complication of the membrane technology. Then can get this clean water. You can direct discharge, and the semi-solid coming from the EC part, so rich in phosphorus, very good. The fertilizer for that case. So this is some kind of individual piece. We work together, and then again, I'm a system engineer. We want to kind of put those things together. Give you 3 the case studies. So we're combining solar, anaerobic digestion, water reuse, and nutrients recoveries. First one is solar biomembrane-based systems for water energy generation. It's a container-based systems we develop. They trying to kind of actually called a zero discharging, zero emission energy neutral systems, and put those the solar digesters and the electrocoagulation and membrane stuff together in one single container or simple operation. To help them to do the waste treatment, waste utilization for this case. Second case is actually for the the farms actually is in Central America. We do have a research hub down San Jose, the close to San Jose, Alajuela actually. In Costa Rica, so you see that we built a pretty big, pilot system for small farms and reactors and solar panel. And for that particular case, we do use wetland and a centrifuger to do, polishing and to do the last steps of digest polishing. And then the example 3 is like the newer the concept we developed is farm-based renewable electric vehicle charging solutions. I think John probably, I don't know, John going to mention a little bit next slide. John's on the team to put these things together. So, and the first one example, solar bio-nano-based, the system for water and energy reclamation. So we put everything in this 40 feet container, and we put a solar panel on the side and to generate the energy. And you can see there's two 400 liters reactors upflow fixed fumes. We do put the pouring in there to enhance, biomass accumulation, fixed film upflow based reactors. And there's like this one's a EC, it's a first generation of the EC we're developing, the 400 liter. Right now we actually develop a continuous EC processes, and the reactor size much smaller. And the next generation, actually we have right now to get to third generation EC for the waste utilization. And then the feeding systems, gas bag, and we do have energy center and control the solar energy and biogas energy, manage those things to create continuous energy flow to support the systems. And then, of course, we do have a battery for that particular case for research purpose, because in the winter in Michigan, the long for those few from Michigan, we have a average, we have 160 days cloudy days, so very much is the winter months. So, and sometimes like past, a couple of days, we don't have sun for like 3 or 4 days. So we do need a little bit, battery to leverage the energy, the gap between the sunny days and cloudy days. And then we do work with some engine company. And other things like for those fields running the digestion, the how complicated running the engine on the biogas, oil change. We have, our LMS, we have dedicated technician in charge of that. Oil change, maintenance, all those things, and monitor sulfur content. You don't want to get too high, damage all those things. So we work with some engine companies in the United States to try to develop maintenance-free engine for small medium farms. So this is one of them we test. We have 2 of them in my facility doing the small scale. The test is actually starting engine and control the different the flow ratios. Actually can get a clean burn. And literally this is maintenance free, particularly for small medium farms, right? You don't need a dedicated operator to run that, then just kind of automatic, sign it off. And then we do kind of, again, for the small, medium farms, we really want the automatic, systems. You don't want to, say dedicated operator to operate operating systems. So this kind of, we do all those, programs, simple program, monitor system, control systems. Even right now, it's pretty typical. You just use a cell phone to do everything. So that's kind of similar talking. We are going in that direction. This, the case. And then again, who are engineers, we need to do the energy mass balance to see the overall performance of the systems. So then kind of we just use Blackwater and food waste together. This is systems that designed for that case. And again, the test units very small, 60 liters, per day. And we generate potable water, and we do have, the solids fertilizer and just semi-solid, like sludge. And then we kind of have a rejected water, we're doing recirculation, and the energy balance, you can see this, overall in a cold, the Michigan winter day, we can generate around 5, kilowatt hours electricity per day. Again, this is a pilot unit, it's a small scale. But overall, this, combination, right, for certain, the operations, farm operation, we do have, filtration, if you look at that, filtration units with a commercial housing. And we do our own, the coating on this kind of membrane to do, filtration. And then, yes, the systems are going to work. And actually, conceptual-wise, and combining them together. And of course, the system is still a little bit complicated. This is the first generation with those systems. So we do have, currently we have a second container and upgraded version. And we simplify things and makes that much bigger. Right now, so we have those 3 cubic meters, and we can handle 200 gallons of waste streams per day. So, but this is kind of first pilot. We prove the concept, and at this level, we put everything together, and we can have a positive energy output for the case. And that second one is a little bit bigger. This is for the full farm, for real farm operation in Costa Rica, Central America. We built our research hubs, 10, 12 years ago down there, and using the Department of State's fund. And then we built system 16, the solar collector. One thing I have to mention is everything we did over there, we built locally. We didn't ship anything from the United States down to Costa Rica. And digesters with the gas bag and engine. The only thing is the engines. This is 16 kilowatt unit engines. Actually, the Costa Rica is a tiny country, 5.5 million people. So they don't have entire the industry chains there. So we did purchase from Brazil. And then we do have a wetland on the farm side to clean up the water. We want to take advantage of the region. So this whole system, the thermophilic because it's hot there. So we raise temperature a little bit high. And a flat solar panel, and then we have energy utilization and solid digesters we use on the local farms. On that experiment station, you do have a different crops in there, and then we go through the vertical, the construction wetland, and then the sand filter and get reclaim the water. So this is systems in Costa Rica. We have solar panel feeding systems because we do receive a manure like a chicken litter. And some of soy manure, and then a lot of the tropic fruits residues, papaya, mangoes, and then the pineapple, those kind of watermelon, those things. And we do have a grinding systems, so chunk piece grinding small, and pumping to the buffer tank. And this is our main reactor, 20 cubic meters reactor. And then this is kind of the solid removal. Once after digestion, we get semi-solid the residues out of that, and this 60 cubic meters gas bag with store gas and 2 small engines, and the polishing sand filter wetlands are done there, and polishing the water. So this is kind of data. We monitor everything, and energy temperatures and input and output. You can see we do the comparison. Actually, we have 262 megajoule net energy output, the whole system year round. We run that systems. We shut down the systems, I think 2 years ago, just during the pandemic, and the 6 or 8 years operation, the average numbers like that here. And you can see the water, of course, towards the end, this is a sand filter. We do have some suspended solid in there, but the water is clean enough to be used back to the field, actually on the irrigation water. So then we kind of collect all those slot. This is 1 metric tons per day feeding. So it's very small, the operation for small, medium farms. And this example 2, the last one is like a newer the concept we developed called that farm-based renewable electricity vehicle charging solutions for climate smart dairy industry, focus on dairy. And that, as mentioned earlier, 45% of the gross the carbon in the forage is feeding cow that ends up in the dairy. And then if you look at greenhouse gas emissions for the manure, come for roughly 1/3 of the global warming potential from dairy industry. And then we did a calculation. If considering that the farms, not only big farms, particularly actually for this case, small, medium dairy farms, we put them together using these technologies, and that would generate electricity. This time we don't put on grid. We develop the local or what we call the regional off-grid charging network, charging stations. Charging electric vehicle. Currently, I don't know how many of you have EV cars, and the charging station, fast charging station, roughly national average right now 30-35 cents per kilowatt hours. You're comparing 10 cents per kilowatt hour for grid in power, and you got 35 cents, 3.5 times higher. Then Juliana, you can run some life cycle analysis or economic analysis at just 3.5 cents, 3.5 times the increase of the price, and change the entire game for the digestion industry. So this is why we kind of work. We do have a little bit of USDA the grants to support some preliminary research on that, and we did some more calculation on that case. Actually, if you're considering 50% of the dairy farms, if down the road uses the technology, actually we can put the 9.6 million electric pickup trucks on the road. It's roughly 16% of all pickup trucks in operation currently in the United States. So the numbers are very, very big. So this is something we're doing in the research, and then we're working with GIS scientists to do the mapping things right now, particularly right now for the state of Michigan. We're considering we have a 2,500 dairy farms, very much focused on dairy farm. The questions we ask is, can we build a network? We work with the local utility companies, trying to use their, the grid. They are eagerly looking for the solutions too, because Michigan, we're the car state, auto industry states, so very much getting to the EV part. And we want to give an example for the rest of the country. Can we, put the renewable electricity and the EV things together, hand by hand, literally to put all the industry, agriculture industry together. That's kind of a last case study. This is newer research. We are putting a lot of effort on that part. So again, the conclusion is for the small medium farms, we need solutions, and very much is integrated solutions for them. It's not only just, okay, we'll focus on massing or focus on the other things. We really need to put all the nutrients, all the waste streams together, massing, carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus together, and including water too. And that, of course, anaerobic digestion plays a pivotal role. So it's a key role in the whole, systems. Then the other technology, electrocoagulation. I just give you example, electrocoagulation and the membrane stuff. We also do something else like electrodialysis and other, the biologic process to do the polishing work. And again, the small operations, we have so many different variations. Really need to give them the tools in the toolboxes, and let farms, like small, medium farms, pick and tailor those technologies to satisfy their operation. That's a key point for the whole small, medium, size with utilization notion. So again, this is a lot of people. It's not only me. And my center had 21 faculty member affiliated with ours. We form different teams, different things, and then of course, money is important to run those research. So all those funding agencies support this whole, the systems research. So this is kind of my facility, and some of you interesting MSU, the address center, you can come to visit, just drop me a line, but not this times. And come here summer. Winter in Michigan is no fun. So, okay, thank you all.